Welcome to One Book, One Coffee, a cozy corner of the internet where we savor the richness of great books alongside our favorite brews. Today, you've chosen Deep Work by Cal Newport, and that says something remarkable about you. In a world of endless distractions, you've opted for depth and growth over the fleeting entertainment of scrolling or binge-watching. You're here because you want to invest in your mind and your future, and for that, I applaud you. Deep Work is an extraordinary book that delves into the power of focused, undistracted work in our increasingly noisy world. It's a call to reclaim the ability to concentrate deeply and produce meaningful work. The book has received praise from influential thinkers and doers like Tim Ferriss, who recognizes its profound insights into productivity and work ethic. Cal Newport, the author, is a professor of computer science at Georgetown University, but he's much more than that. He's a thought leader in the realm of productivity and has written extensively about the intersection of technology and culture. Newport's own experiences as an academic and writer, striving for excellence while navigating the distractions of modern life, inspired him to share his insights through this book. Now, a quick note before we dive in. This is a detailed chapter-by-chapter walkthrough, so it's going to be a longer session. Take your time with it. There's no rush. If you need to step away, save this video to your watch later or forward the link to yourself on WhatsApp so you can pick up right where you left off. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's walk through this book together, chapter by chapter, idea by idea. Let's begin. Cal Newport is a computer science professor at Georgetown University, known for his research on the impact of technology on society. His personal struggle with maintaining focus and productivity in a digital age led him to explore and share the principles of deep work. Imagine sitting in your favorite coffee shop, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloping you, as you dive into a fascinating conversation about a concept that could revolutionize the way you work and live. That's the kind of cozy, yet enlightening vibe we're after today as we explore the introduction of Deep Work by Cal Newport. So let's get started. Now think about this. When was the last time you truly focused on a task without any distractions? I'm talking about getting into a state where the world seems to fade away, and it's just you and the challenge in front of you. For many of us, those moments are few and far between. In a world where buzzing phones, endless email notifications, and social media pings constantly pull at our attention, the ability to concentrate deeply on hard problems has become a rare skill. Here's where Cal Newport's Deep Work comes in. The core premise of the book is compellingly simple. Deep work is both valuable and meaningful, and it's becoming increasingly rare in our distracted world. Newport defines deep work as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate. On the flip side, there's shallow work, non-cognitively demanding, logistical-style tasks, often performed while distracted. These tasks tend not to create much new value in the world and are easy to replicate. Now, why is deep work so important? Let's imagine you're a craftsman, say a blacksmith, back when the craft was central to daily life. Your skill was honed through hours of focused practice, producing work that was not only functional but carried a piece of your spirit in each creation. We might be far removed from those times today, but the principle remains the same. Whether you're writing a novel, coding software, or developing a business strategy, deep work allows you to craft something truly exceptional. The modern economy rewards creativity, innovation, and complex problem-solving, skills that are best developed and executed through deep concentration. Newport argues that those who cultivate this ability will thrive, while those who ignore it will struggle to keep up. Now you might be thinking, this sounds great, but how do I achieve deep work with my jam-packed schedule? Newport's book is filled with practical advice and real-world examples to guide us. He suggests creating rituals and routines that set you up for success. For instance, consider J.K. Rowling, who checked into a hotel to finish the final Harry Potter book, eliminating distractions to focus entirely on writing. Another inspiring example comes from Carl Jung, who built a tower in the Swiss countryside to escape from the hustle and bustle of city life, dedicating a sacred space for thought and writing, enabling him to produce much of his groundbreaking work in psychology. While we might not have the means to build a personal retreat, we can certainly take a page from Jung's book by carving out dedicated spaces and times for focus, even if it's just a corner of your home or an hour blocked off each morning. The allure of deep work taps into something fundamental about our nature. Have you ever felt the flow, that almost magical state where time flies and you're completely immersed in what you're doing? That's the power of deep work in action. It's as if our brains are hardwired to crave these periods of intense focus because they allow us to perform at our best and derive profound satisfaction from our work. In today's world, it's easy to fall into the shallow work trap, mistaking busy for productive. Newport warns us that just because we're working long hours doesn't mean we're working effectively. The aim isn't to fill up our days with endless tasks, but to focus on those few critical activities where we can make the most impact. It's about quality over quantity, depth over breadth. So, how do we reintroduce deep work into our lives? Newport suggests several strategies, such as embracing boredom to train our brain to resist distractions, or quitting social media tools that don't significantly contribute to our personal or professional goals. It's about being selective and intentional with our time and attention. To make deep work a reality in our lives, it requires a shift in mindset, prioritizing long-term growth over immediate gratification. Think of it like planting a seed. The effort you invest in nurturing it through disciplined, focused work will eventually blossom into something meaningful and impactful. Consider the modern parallels. In the age of remote work, for instance, the lines between work and leisure can blur, making it even more challenging to find that deep focus. However, this also presents an opportunity. Without the distractions of office chatter or constant meetings, we can schedule our days to include uninterrupted time blocks dedicated to deep work. Transitioning into a deep work mindset is akin to training for a marathon. It requires practice, patience, and a commitment to the process. You wouldn't expect to run 26 miles without preparation, and similarly, you can't expect to dive into deep work without gradually building your capacity to focus. As we wrap up this introduction, Newport's message is clear. Deep work is not just a pathway to success. It's a pathway to a more fulfilling life. Imagine if you could look back on your work weeks and see not just a blur of activities but a series of substantial achievements. A novel written, a project completed, a skill mastered. This is the promise of deep work. So, as you sip your coffee and ponder the possibilities, remember this. Deep work is a skill that can be developed over time. It's an investment in yourself that pays dividends in both personal satisfaction and professional success. Are you ready to dive deep? I'm sorry I can't do that. I'm sorry, but I can't provide a continuous narration text directly from Deep Work by Cal Newport. However, I can offer a summary or discuss the themes and ideas from Chapter 2, Deep Work is Rare, in my own words. Would you like me to do that? Yes. Narration. Imagine sitting in a cozy cafe, a steaming cup of coffee in hand. The world outside is bustling, but inside there's a calmness, a sense of focus that allows you to be truly present. This is what Cal Newport refers to in Chapter 3 of Deep Work as the profound power of intense focus, not just as a tool for productivity, but as a pathway to a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Let's dive into why deep work is meaningful. It's important to understand that deep work is not just about getting things done efficiently, but about the depth of experience and satisfaction that comes from immersing oneself in a single task. Newport argues that, in a world constantly vying for our attention, the ability to focus intensely on a task is not only rare but incredibly valuable. It allows us to tap into our full cognitive capabilities, leading to work that is not only excellent but also deeply satisfying. \n picture this. You're an artist, surrounded by your tools, and you enter what's often described as a flow state. Time seems to disappear, and your work begins to take on a life of its own. This state of flow, Newport suggests, is the epitome of deep work. It's where the magic happens, where creativity flows freely and we feel most alive. Newport shares the story of Carl Jung, the famous psychiatrist who built a stone tower in the Swiss countryside as a personal retreat. Jung understood the importance of deep work long before it became a popular concept. In his tower, isolated from the distractions of his everyday life, Jung was able to focus intensely on his research and writing, which contributed to some of his most significant contributions to psychology. Jung's story illustrates how creating an environment conducive to deep work can lead to breakthroughs and profound personal satisfaction. \n now, think about this. In our modern world, where multitasking is often glorified, how often do we truly allow ourselves to focus on one thing deeply? We're constantly interrupted by emails, social media notifications, and the endless stream of information. Yet Newport argues that by carving out time for deep work, we not only become more productive but find a deeper sense of purpose in what we do. \n consider the analogy of a craftsman. A blacksmith, for example, needs to focus intensely on each detail to create a masterpiece. Every strike of the hammer, every turn of the metal, requires not just skill but undivided attention. When we engage in deep work, we are like that craftsman, shaping our thoughts and actions into something meaningful and lasting. \n Newport also highlights the connection between deep work and personal fulfillment. He suggests that when we engage deeply with our work, we align ourselves with a higher purpose. This isn't just about external success, but about internal satisfaction. It's about looking back at the end of the day and feeling that what you've done matters. \n he provides an insightful comparison to ancient practices of contemplation and meditation. Monks, philosophers, and thinkers have long understood the importance of deep, focused thought. They knew that such practices were pathways to understanding and enlightenment. In today's world, applying these ancient practices through deep work can lead to similar insights and personal growth. \n let's take a moment to consider how we can apply these principles in our own lives. Perhaps it's setting aside specific times in our day dedicated to deep work, free from the usual distractions. Or maybe it's creating a space that inspires focus, much like Jung's stone tower. Newport encourages us to be intentional about our environment and our schedule, recognizing that deep work is a skill that can be cultivated over time. \n he also raises an interesting point about the role of solitude in achieving deep work. In solitude, we are able to engage with our thoughts more profoundly, to explore ideas without the noise of external opinions. This solitude doesn't necessarily mean being alone, but rather creating a mental space free from distractions. \n in a world that often values speed and quantity over quality, Newport's emphasis on deep work is a reminder to slow down and engage deeply with what truly matters. It's about finding joy in the process and the satisfaction that comes from knowing you've given something your full attention. \n as we near the end of this chapter, consider this. What might happen if we all embrace the principles of deep work in our personal and professional lives? Could we find more meaning, more joy, in the everyday tasks and challenges we face? Newport leaves us with the idea that deep work is not a luxury, but a necessity for a life well lived. \n so, as you sip your coffee and ponder these ideas, challenge yourself to find ways to incorporate deep work into your daily routine. Not only might you find greater success, but you'll discover a deeper sense of fulfillment and purpose along the way. Newport's insights serve as a warm reminder of the transformative power of focused attention and the profound impact it can have on our lives. \n and with that, Let's carry forward the wisdom of deep work into our everyday lives, finding meaning and fulfillment in every moment we choose to focus on what truly matters. Backslash. Narration. Imagine this. You're sitting in a cozy cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee swirling around you, and we're diving into a topic that's both fascinating and transformative. Today, we're exploring Chapter 4 of Cal Newport's Deep Work, a chapter that introduces us to a bold and thought-provoking hypothesis. Deep work is the path to significant achievement. As we sip our coffee and settle into this discussion, let's unravel what makes deep work not just a concept, but a life-changing practice. /n now. Think about this. In a world that seems to demand our attention at every turn, from constant notifications to the endless scroll of social media, how often do we truly immerse ourselves in focused, uninterrupted work? Newport argues that, in the cacophony of modern life, the ability to concentrate without distraction is becoming increasingly rare. Yet, it's precisely this rarity that makes deep work so valuable. To put it simply, deep work is like a secret garden, hidden away from the bustle of the outside world, where the seeds of creativity and productivity are sown and nurtured. /n. To illustrate this idea, Newport draws an analogy between deep work and a craftsman's ability to create masterpieces. Picture a skilled artisan in their workshop, carving intricate designs into wood or shaping clay into stunning pottery. This artisan isn't surrounded by noise or distractions. Instead, they're fully engrossed in their craft, their hands moving almost instinctively, guided by years of practice and focus. Newport suggests that our work, whatever field we may be in, can reach the same level of craftsmanship if we embrace the principles of deep work. /n. But what does deep work look like in practice? Let's consider the story of Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist. Jung understood the power of deep work long before the term was coined. When he needed to delve into the depths of his theories and ideas, Jung would retreat to a stone tower he built in the Swiss countryside. This tower, devoid of the distractions of his busy life in Zurich, allowed him the mental space he needed to produce some of his most influential work. Jung's approach wasn't just about physical seclusion. It was about creating a mental environment where deep work could flourish. /n. Bringing this concept into the modern era, think about the tech industry and the rise of personal computing. Steve Jobs is a name that inevitably comes up in this context. Jobs was known for his intense focus and ability to block out distractions when working on revolutionary products like the iPhone. His dedication to deep work was not just a quirk of his personality, but a strategic choice that helped Apple create products that changed the world. Jobs' story underscores the idea that deep work isn't simply about isolating oneself. It's about creating the conditions for breakthrough ideas and innovation. /n. And here's where the hypothesis of deep work as a path to significant achievement truly takes root. Newport argues that in a knowledge economy, where individuals are prized for their mental output rather than their physical labor, the ability to perform deep work is like a superpower. This superpower isn't about working harder or longer. It's about working smarter, using focused time to solve complex problems and generate innovative solutions. It's about entering a state of flow where time seems to fall away, and the task at hand becomes the sole focus of our attention. But how do we cultivate this ability in our own lives? Newport offers some practical wisdom. He emphasizes the importance of scheduling deep work into our daily routines. Like a gardener tending to plants, we must nurture the time and space for deep work to occur. This might mean setting aside an hour each morning, before the day's chaos begins, to delve into a challenging project, or carving out a quiet afternoon to write, study, or brainstorm. /n. Moreover, Newport suggests that we need to train our brains to resist distraction. In the same way a runner builds endurance through practice, we can build our capacity for deep work through deliberate effort. This might involve turning off notifications, creating a distraction-free environment, or even practicing mindfulness to sharpen our focus. /n/n now, let's bring this discussion to a more personal level. Consider your own life and work. How often do you find yourself distracted, unable to complete tasks efficiently? What would happen if you could reclaim some of that lost focus and channel it into deep work? Imagine the projects you could complete, the skills you could master, and the goals you could achieve. The potential is truly limitless. /n/n as we wrap up our conversation, let's circle back to the heart of the deep work hypothesis. In a world where shallow work, the kind that keeps us busy but not truly productive, often dominates, deep work stands out as a beacon of clarity and purpose. It's about cutting through the noise, honing in on what truly matters, and achieving remarkable results. So, as you finish your coffee and ponder today's discussion, I encourage you to think about how you can integrate deep work into your own life. After all, the path to significant achievement is not paved with distractions, but with focus, intention, and the courage to dive deep. /n/n and there you have it. A warm, insightful exploration of why deep work is not just a hypothesis, but a powerful pathway to achieving greatness in our lives and careers. Here's to finding your own deep work sanctuary and watching what you can accomplish when you give your full, undivided attention to the work that truly matters. Until next time, happy deep working, my friend. I'm here to help with your request, but it's important to note that I can't provide a verbatim excerpt from the book Deep Work by Cal Newport. However, I can give you an engaging and insightful narration based on the themes and ideas related to the chapter Work Deeply, while maintaining a conversational tone. Imagine yourself walking into a quiet, cozy cafe. The smell of freshly brewed coffee wafts through the air. You sit down with a steaming cup in hand, ready to dive into a conversation about how to truly focus in a world that seems to demand the opposite. Today, we're talking about deep work, specifically how you can cultivate this invaluable skill in your daily life. A skill that Cal Newport argues is not just beneficial, but essential in our modern age. Now think about this. How often do you find yourself truly focused, without distractions, on a single task? In today's whirlwind of notifications, emails, and never-ending to-do lists, finding a moment of deep, undisturbed work feels almost like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Yet, this is precisely the challenge Newport sets before us. He suggests that by mastering the art of deep work, we can achieve things that are not only fulfilling, but also rare and valuable in today's economy. Let's consider the craftsman, hammer in hand, crafting something with precision and care. This timeless image serves as a perfect metaphor for deep work. Just as the craftsman needs undivided attention to create a masterpiece, we need similar focus to produce our best intellectual work. Newport shares strategies to cultivate deep work, and it begins with understanding that deep work isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. One strategy Newport suggests is to structure your day around rituals and routines that minimize the amount of willpower needed to transition into a state of deep work. Picture this: a writer who starts every day at sunrise with a walk, followed by a strict 2-hour writing session with no interruptions. Why is this routine effective? Because it removes the chaos of choice and makes deep work a habit, not just a goal. In a sense, you're creating a sacred space for your mind to operate at its best. But how do we actually create this sacred space in our daily lives? Newport lays out several approaches. One is the rhythmic philosophy of deep work scheduling. It's like setting a rhythm for your day, where certain times are consistently reserved for deep work. Imagine having a do not disturb sign for your brain, allowing it to dive deep without interruptions. It's not about isolating yourself from the world, but about carving out time for what's truly important. Another approach Newport discusses is the journalistic philosophy, which is more adaptable and fits into the unpredictable nature of modern work life. It's akin to being a journalist on a deadline, seizing moments of deep work whenever they appear. This requires a certain mental agility and the skill to quickly enter a state of concentration, despite the surrounding chaos. You might find this approach especially useful if your schedule doesn't allow for consistent blocks of time. However, even with the best intentions, distractions are inevitable. So how do we conquer them? One powerful antidote Newport suggests is embracing boredom. Yes, boredom. In an era where we constantly reach for our phones at the slightest hint of quiet, training ourselves to tolerate boredom can heighten our focus. Think of it as mental strength training. Just as you wouldn't skip leg day at the gym, you shouldn't shy away from letting your mind wander from time to time. This builds the mental stamina required to sustain deep work. Newport also introduces the idea of productive meditation, which could revolutionize the way we think about focus. Imagine using mundane tasks, like walking or showering, as opportunities to deeply contemplate a professional problem. By doing so, you train your mind to focus on demanding tasks, even when you're not at your desk. It's about turning idle moments into productive ones, much like a chef sharpening knives before a big dinner service, ensuring they're ready when the time comes. Let's pause for a moment. Consider how you might apply these strategies in your own life. Could you identify a specific time each day dedicated solely to deep work? Could you resist the urge to check your phone during a brainstorming session? These small shifts can accumulate, leading to transformative changes in how we approach our work. The transition to deep work isn't just about individual effort. It's also about cultivating an environment that supports this focus. Newport shares stories of companies that encourage deep work by implementing policies like quiet hours, where employees are free from meetings and emails. This may seem radical, but the results speak for themselves: higher productivity, more creative solutions, and a happier workforce. It's a reminder that sometimes less is more. As we draw this conversation to a close, think back to that Craftsman. Each deliberate strike of the hammer, each carefully measured cut, is an act of devotion to the craft. Deep work is no different. It's a commitment, not just to the task at hand, but to the pursuit of excellence in a world that often feels like it's pulling us in 1,000 directions. So next time you find yourself caught in the whirlwind of daily tasks, remember the power of deep work. Embrace it, nurture it, and watch as it transforms not just your output, but your entire approach to life. As we finish our coffee and part ways, let's carry with us the belief that with a little discipline and a lot of focus, we can all work deeply and create something truly meaningful. Jason. Narration. Welcome back to One Book, One Coffee, where today we're diving into Chapter 6 of Cal Newport's Deep Work. Picture this. You're sitting in your favorite cozy cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air, and you've got a friend across the table talking about the importance of embracing boredom. That's precisely the vibe we're going for today. /n/n now, let's start with a question. When was the last time you truly allowed yourself to be bored? In our hyper-connected world, it feels like we have an aversion to boredom. The minute we sense it creeping in, we reach for our phones, scroll through social media, or dive into an app. But Newport argues that embracing boredom is not just beneficial but essential for cultivating a deep work habit. /n/n think about it. Boredom is our brain's way of signaling that it's time to recharge and refocus. Yet, we're constantly bombarded with distractions. Newport tells us that by resisting these distractions and allowing ourselves to experience boredom, we actually train our brains to focus better and work more deeply. /n/n, let's imagine our brains as gardens. Distractions are like weeds that creep in and choke the productivity out of us, while boredom acts as the gardener's tool, helping us clear out these weeds and create space for creativity and deep thinking to flourish. Newport shares that when we constantly indulge in distractions, we erode our ability to concentrate, much like a garden overrun by weeds becomes unproductive. /n/n now, Newport isn't asking us to sit in the dark with nothing but our thoughts, though that might be enlightening in its own right. Instead, he suggests developing a tolerance for boredom. Think of it as strength training for your brain. The more you practice, the stronger and more resilient it becomes. He shares the story of a successful author who purposely leaves his phone behind when he goes for a walk, allowing himself to wrestle with ideas in his mind without the crutch of digital distractions. /n/n consider this. Have you ever noticed that your best ideas often come when you're not actively trying to find them? Maybe during a shower or on a long drive. Newport explains that boredom allows your mind to wander and make unexpected connections. It's during these times that creativity can strike like lightning. /n/n to make this relevant to our modern lives, Newport introduces the concept of a distraction detox. This doesn't mean going cold turkey and abandoning all technology. Instead, it's about setting boundaries and creating intentional spaces for boredom in your day. Maybe it's designating a tech-free hour each evening or choosing to read a book instead of watching TV before bed. It's about regaining control over your attention. /n/n he recounts a story of a tech executive who realized that his constant availability via email was eroding his ability to think deeply. By setting strict boundaries around when he checked his messages, he regained hours each week for uninterrupted, creative thought. In today's fast-paced world, this might seem radical, but it's about prioritizing quality over quantity. /n/n let's bring this idea to life with a metaphor. Imagine you're a chef crafting a gourmet dish. Each ingredient represents a piece of information or a distraction. If you pile everything in without care, you end up with a mess. But if you selectively choose your ingredients, allowing moments of stillness and boredom to guide your hand, you create a masterpiece. /n/n but you might wonder, how do we practically embrace boredom? Newport provides some actionable wisdom. Start by scheduling breaks from focus. Real, intentional breaks where you let your mind wander instead of reaching for instant gratification. Perhaps take a moment to simply gaze out the window and watch the world go by. /n/n he also suggests engaging in activities that are inherently slow and almost meditative, like knitting, drawing, or gardening. These activities not only foster patience, but also provide a gentle space for your mind to rest and reset. /n/n another compelling example Newport shares is of a well-known journalist who, instead of succumbing to distraction, made it a point to read every single newspaper article in print. At first glance, this might seem mundane, but in the process, he trained his attention span and broadened his understanding of the world. /n/n as we sip our metaphorical coffee together, consider this. Embracing boredom is like tuning an instrument. It allows us to find clarity, focus, and ultimately make beautiful music in our work. In the end, deep work is about harnessing our ability to concentrate on demanding tasks without distraction. /n/n as we wrap up our discussion today, think about how you can introduce a little bit of boredom into your own life. Can you put your phone away during meals? Or perhaps take a walk without headphones? Embracing boredom is not about doing nothing. It's about making space for something meaningful. /n/n remember, the world will always be full of distractions vying for your attention, but by choosing to embrace those quiet, seemingly uneventful moments, you're setting the stage for profound focus and creativity. Just like taking a pause in a conversation to find the right words, allowing yourself to be bored opens up a world of possibilities. /n/n and there you have it, friends. A warm, inviting look at Chapter 6 of Deep Work. Until next time, keep sipping that coffee and let yourself wander a little. Who knows what brilliant thoughts might come your way. See you soon on One Book, One Coffee. Narration. Imagine this. You're sitting in your favorite cozy coffee shop, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee swirling around you, creating a cloud of warmth. You're here to escape the endless pings of notifications and to focus on something deeper. Today's topic: how social media could be like the thief lurking in the shadows of your productivity. Welcome back to One Book, One Coffee, where we delve into the profound ideas of another transformative book. Today, we're exploring the insights of Cal Newport's deep work, and in particular the chapter that encourages us to quit social media. /n/n now, you might be thinking, quit social media, that's radical. But let's pause for a moment and really think about the role it plays in our lives. Social media platforms are designed to be addictive, pulling us into the endless scroll with promises of connection, entertainment, and sometimes even fame. But at what cost? Newport suggests that while these platforms offer some value, they often do so at a significant cost to our ability to engage in deep, meaningful work. /n/n picture your brain as a garden. Deep work is like the fertile soil needed to grow beautiful, robust plants, the kind that take time and attention to cultivate. Social media, on the other hand, is like a swarm of locusts nibbling away at the tender shoots, never allowing them to take root. Newport argues that to truly allow your ideas and projects to flourish, you need to protect your garden from these pests. /n/n now, think about this. How often do you check your phone during the day? According to some studies, the average person checks their phone over 150 times a day. That's 150 interruptions to your thoughts, your focus, and your creativity. Newport draws attention to this constant disruption, pointing out that true concentration requires long, uninterrupted periods to dive deep into a task. He refers to this as deep work, which he defines as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration, activities that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. /n/n, but let's not just take Newport's word for it. Consider the story of renowned author J.K. Rowling, who famously retreated to the Balmoral Hotel in Edinburgh to finish the final book of the Harry Potter series. With her mind free from distractions, she was able to create a world that has captivated millions. Compare this to the modern-day writer, often battling the constant barrage of tweets and likes that can easily pull them away from their narrative magic. /n/n Newport doesn't suggest that everyone should delete their accounts immediately. Instead, he proposes a more thoughtful approach, the Craftsman mindset. This mindset is about focusing on the tools, including social media, that directly serve your professional and personal goals. He encourages us to ask ourselves, what tools bring the most value to my life? If social media doesn't make the cut, perhaps it's time to reconsider its place in your daily routine. /n/n to illustrate this, Newport tells the story of a skilled blacksmith. This blacksmith doesn't use every tool available. Instead, he carefully selects the ones that help him create the best work. In the same way, we should curate the tools and social media platforms that genuinely enhance our abilities and contributions. /n/n but wait, you might argue, what about staying in touch with friends, networking, or following news and trends? Newport acknowledges these benefits but cautions against overestimating their importance. The key is to be intentional. Instead of mindlessly scrolling, consciously decide when and how to engage. Consider using social media for specific purposes at designated times, much like you schedule meetings or set aside time for focused work. /n/n to further emphasize the point, Newport introduces the concept of the any-benefit approach. This is the idea that if a tool, even one as distracting as social media, offers any potential benefit, we adopt it without considering the costs. He challenges this mindset by suggesting a more stringent criterion. Only adopt a tool if its benefits significantly outweigh its downsides in your professional and personal life. /n/n and think of it like packing for a long journey. You wouldn't bring every item that might come in handy. Instead, you'd pack only the essentials, keeping your load light and purposeful. Similarly, by critically evaluating each social media platform, you can travel through your day more efficiently, unburdened by unnecessary distractions. /n/n now, let's talk about a practical method Newport offers, the 30-day social media detox. It's a chance to step back and see how much, or how little, you truly miss these platforms. Imagine it as a cleanse, a chance to reset and recalibrate your relationship with technology. During this period, you reflect on which platforms, if any, add genuine value to your life. The goal isn't permanent disconnection, but rather informed choice. \n/n. As we draw this conversation to a close, let's circle back to the idea of deep work itself. Newport's message is clear. To cultivate a life rich in focus and creativity, we must be vigilant stewards of our attention. Like a musician tuning their instrument before a concert, we must retune our minds to the rhythms of concentration and creativity, leaving behind the noisy stage of social media when necessary. \n/n. So, as you sip your coffee, think about how you can protect the garden of your mind from distractions. Could stepping back from social media for a while enhance your ability to engage deeply with your passions? It might just be the key to unlocking a richer, more fulfilling life. \n/n. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through deep work. Until next time, may your work be deep and your coffee be strong. I'm sorry, but I can't provide a narration of that length. However, I can provide a concise summary or analysis of the chapter if that would be helpful. Let me know how you'd like to proceed. Error: the request exceeds the character limit for a single response. Please request a shorter response or specific sections. I'm sorry, I can't do that. Jason. Narration. As we reach the conclusion of Deep Work by Cal Newport, I invite you to sit back, sip your coffee, and reflect with me on the journey we've taken together through the world of focus and productivity. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean, the horizon stretching endlessly before you. That ocean is the realm of deep work, an expanse of uncharted potential where your most profound thoughts and creative energy converge to create something truly extraordinary. Newport's exploration of deep work isn't just a nod to some abstract ideal. It's a call to arms to reclaim the deep focus that our world, with its constant pings and notifications, seems determined to drown out. \n/n. Now, think about this. How often do we find ourselves bouncing from task to task, our attention scattered like leaves in the wind? We're in a constant state of distraction, jumping from emails to social media, feeling productive yet unfulfilled at the end of the day. Newport argues that this scattered approach is the antithesis of deep work. To truly thrive in our careers and personal lives, we must cultivate a deep work mindset, one that allows us to dive beneath the surface noise and tap into our greatest potential. \n/n. Let's revisit some of the core principles Newport lays out. First, there's the idea of work deeply. It's about creating a sanctuary for your mind where distractions are minimized and your focus is entirely absorbed in the task at hand. Picture a craftsman in his workshop, each tool in its place, each action deliberate and meaningful. This craftsman isn't just making, he's transforming raw materials into art. Similarly, deep work allows us to transform our scattered thoughts into coherent, impactful ideas. \n/n. But how do we achieve this? Newport suggests cultivating rituals and routines that signal to our brains, it's time for deep work. Much like an athlete preparing for a game, we need to warm up and condition our minds to enter this state of heightened concentration. It might mean setting specific hours each day for focused work, or creating an environment that minimizes interruptions, like turning off notifications or finding a quiet corner where you can think without the clamor of modern life. \n/n. Now, let's consider the principle of embrace boredom. In a world where every idle moment is filled with a quick scroll through our phones, Newport challenges us to resist the urge for constant stimulation. Remember the last time you were bored, truly bored. In those moments of emptiness, creativity often finds a foothold. It's like letting a field lie fallow, allowing the soil to replenish itself before the next planting. By embracing boredom, we give our minds the space they need to wander, to explore, and ultimately to innovate. \n/n. And what about the idea of quit social media? Now, this doesn't mean swearing off all digital communication forever, but it does mean being more intentional about how we use these tools. Newport challenges us to ask ourselves, Does this platform significantly support or detract from the goals that matter most in our lives? For many, the answer reveals just how much time and attention we've given to platforms that offer little in return. /n/n Imagine a ship's captain, charting a course through treacherous waters. Every degree off course can lead miles away from the destination. In our own lives, maintaining focus means constantly adjusting our heading, ensuring we stay aligned with our most important goals. Newport's advice here is akin to trimming the sails and steering true, making sure that every choice we make brings us closer to our ultimate aims. /n/n Finally, let's talk about drain the shallows. This principle is about making a concerted effort to reduce shallow work, those tasks that seem urgent but don't significantly move the needle on our productivity or happiness, and instead protect our time for deep work. Think of a gardener pruning away the dead leaves to allow more sunlight to reach the healthiest plants. By reducing the time spent on shallow work, we're nurturing the growth of our most important ideas and projects. /n/n As we stand at the end of Newport's Guide to Deep Work, I encourage you to imagine your own deep work journey. What could you achieve if you dedicated uninterrupted time to your most important tasks? What could change if you embrace the stillness that comes with deep focus? How might your life transform if you committed to intentional clarity amidst the chaos? /n/And it's easy to dismiss deep work as impractical in our hyperconnected world, but Newport offers a compelling case that it's more necessary now than ever. In a time where information is abundant, but attention is scarce, deep work is the key to standing out in any field. It's like being a lighthouse in a storm, a beacon of clear, focused energy guiding your way through the tumult. /n/And so, as you close this chapter of deep work, take a moment to consider how you might integrate these principles into your daily life. Perhaps it starts with carving out a small amount of time each day for deep work. Or maybe it's a commitment to leave your phone in another room, giving your mind the freedom to think deeply without interruption. Whatever steps you choose, remember, deep work isn't about perfection, it's about progress. /n/n In the end, Newport's message is about empowerment. It's an invitation to take control of your time and attention and to harness them in service of your highest goals. As you go forward, carry these insights with you, like seeds ready to be planted in the fertile ground of your potential. Because when we commit to deep work, we're not just changing our productivity, we're transforming our lives, one focused moment at a time. /n/n And with that, let's close our conversation today. I hope these reflections on deep work have sparked something within you, something that encourages you to seek deeper focus in your own life. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and of course, keep reading. Cheers to your next cup of coffee and the next book on our journey together. In Deep Work, Cal Newport meticulously unpacks the philosophy and mechanics of cultivating focused, undistracted work, which he argues is a superpower in today's fragmented world. He presents a compelling case for why deep work is not just beneficial but essential for anyone wanting to thrive professionally. Newport emphasizes that, in a society that increasingly values superficiality, a commitment to depth and concentration can set you apart. Throughout the book, he lays down practical strategies, historical anecdotes, and scientific insights that together form a comprehensive guide to achieving more by working smarter, not harder. Here are some key takeaways you can start applying today. 1. Embrace boredom *. Train your brain to handle periods of boredom by resisting the urge to reach for your phone or a distraction every time you have a free moment. Start incredibly small. Spend just a few minutes each day sitting with your thoughts. Gradually increase this time to build your focus muscles. 2. Schedule every minute. Plan your day with precision. Allocate specific blocks for deep work and protect them fiercely. This doesn't mean every minute needs to be productive. Allow flexibility, but ensure your deep work periods remain sacred. Be patient with yourself as you develop this habit. 3. Quit social media asterisk. Assess each tool's personal and professional value and eliminate those that don't contribute significantly. Start with a trial period off social media. Observe the impact on your focus and mood. 4. Ruthlessly prioritize asterisk. Identify the core tasks that bring the most value and focus your efforts there. Begin by listing your tasks and actively choose to ignore the less impactful ones. It's okay to start small and gradually refine your priorities. 5. Craft a deep work ritual asterisk. Establish rituals to transition into deep work mode. It could be as simple as clearing your desk, playing a specific type of music, or having a consistent start time. Personalize it to create a mental cue that it's time to focus. By integrating these practices into your life, you can begin to harness the transformative power of deep work. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with at least one idea from this book that stuck with you, one concept you're going to carry forward. It could be something that challenged your thinking, something you want to try, or even something you disagreed with. Your insight might be exactly what another listener needs to hear today. And if this summary gave you something valuable, a new perspective, a spark of motivation, or even just a peaceful hour with your coffee, share it with someone who might need it too. Subscribe to One Book, One Coffee, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a new summary. Every week we sit down together with one great book, one warm cup of coffee, and the simple belief that wisdom, shared well, can change lives. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and remember, every small step counts. See you at the next book.